major shake-up of union regulations is on the cards after the release of Fair Work Australia's report into the Health Services Union. The report says the former Labor MP and HSU National Secretary Craig Thomson used union money for prostitutes. It says he also spent $270,000 on his election campaign. Mr Thomson denies any wrongdoing.
The government's promising to tighten financial disclosure laws for unions and boost Fair Work Australia's powers. But the opposition says the industrial watchdog has lost its legitimacy.
We believe that Fair Work Australia should no longer be inquiring into registered organisations, and we would set up a separate Registered Organisations Commission as part of the Fair Work Ombudsman, and as a result take this away from Fair Work Australia, which has had this unprecedented delay in coming out with this report.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined by our political correspondent, Melissa Clark, who's in Canberra. Good morning, Melissa. Now, it's budget day, but the government is doing all it can to limit the damage from this report.
And the damage certainly looks like it is going to be widespread because the findings in this report do not paint a good picture for those that it implicates, including Craig Thomson, who is now a suspended member of the Labor Party and sitting as on the crossbenches in the Parliament. He is denying any wrongdoing quite vociferously, but nonetheless the findings that have been released from this Fair Work Australia report through a Senate committee and hence under parliamentary privilege don't paint a pretty picture. They talk about enormous amounts of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars being misspent on escort services, entertainment, and of course, apparently, the election campaign for Craig Thomson. Now, the government is trying to limit the amount of this damage, immediately moving to say that it finds these allegations disturbing, that it does agree that there needs to be greater imposition on unions to disclose where and how their money is being spent and what union officials are getting paid. And Bill Shorten, who is the Workplace Relations Minister, really had no choice yesterday but to come out and say the government will make changes to legislation to toughen up laws on unions. Let's hear briefly from him.
I see no argument against officials, officers of the union reporting what they earn to the members. Financial disclosure and transparency is a must. I've got also no doubt, and I know that the trade union movement and the government unanimously have a view that you've got to have appropriate penalties for individuals who are found to do the wrong thing, and that the penalties will need to be lifted.
Bill Shorten there, the Workplace Relations Minister, and it seems that any legislation to that effect will go through Parliament without any trouble. Not only is the ACTU giving in principle support to the idea, showing they wouldn't press against it, the Coalition is also pushing for greater financial transparency. Let's hear from their Industrial Relations spokesman, Erica Betts.
We believe that this matter should have been referred to the police a lot earlier. It has been referred to the police and we welcome that. Some 10 days ago, Tony Abbott announced a suite of policy to indicate to the Australian people that if we were to be elected after the next election, we would implement changes to increase the penalty on union bosses who so misuse and abuse the faith that individual union members place in them.
That's Erica Betts speaking there on the 7:30 program. Now, Melissa, all you have to do is take a look at the front pages of the major newspapers around the country this morning, and it really has spoilt the Treasurer's party on budget day, hasn't it?
It has. This was the moment Labor has been working to for some months now. It's been putting a lot of energy and effort into talking about getting the budget back to surplus, of having a big fiscal turnaround, one of the fastest in Australia's economic history. But there's not much evidence of that today. Usually, even on the morning of the budget, you can expect to get some decent headlines, but that was all wiped out yesterday with the Senate committee releasing that Fair Work Australia report. But nonetheless, the budget rolls on today and there will be some critical information in that. Let's just go over briefly the headline figures of what to look out for. We are expecting the government will announce a surplus for 2012-13 of $1.5 billion and a surplus the following financial year of $2 billion. So again, another very narrow thing for a surplus in 2013-14 as well, which shows how fine it is for the government just to tip over that line into positive territory. We will be looking out for more savings. We're expecting more savings announcements in the defence budget budgets, and also the health budget. The health sector is concerned that there will be more cuts in their area as well too, but we can also expect there to be some more payments in terms of cash payments that will target lower income households as well. We'll have all the details later on tonight when the Treasurer gets on the floor of the Parliament and delivers the budget address.
Melissa Clark in Canberra. There's lots to talk about this morning. We'll come back to you a little bit later on.